on a grand paper plane, rolling dice to echo cannons refrain. Kingdoms rise within this tabletop dust. In strategy and chaos we place our trust. The generals lean with a calculating stare. Hands of fate guide moves with a flare. Tiny hills climb where valleys fall steep. Battles fought while the house stays asleep. Wargaming dreams on a six-sided star. In this microcosm we travel so far. Heroes die small, but their legends grow large. In this tiny world we're always in charge. Painted commanders in coats of bold hue patrol the terrain in colors so true. Armies clash with a flick of the wrist. Victory's a mark on a checklist kissed. Dice are the drums of this parade of might. The board is the map glowing soft through the night. Imagination ignites where the pieces collide. A universe unfolds we cannot hide. 100 battles fought in one single room. Victories blazing and true.
All right, hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am coming at you with another wargaming and miniature video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a variety of different things that I've got planned. I've been kind of toying around with what I was going to do today, and I've decided I'm just going to do it all. I'm going to do it all. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. We're going to get it done. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get it done. Okay, so I don't know. I do want to start cleaning some brushes. Okay, I plan to initiate the cleaning process on some of these brushes. I plan on initiating the cleaning process of my table. So we're gonna get, okay, let me put this in here. So we're gonna get we're gonna get a lot of things cleaned. I'm gonna prepare these epic American Civil War figures that I've got right here. I'm gonna get them off the sprue, and I'm going to trim their edges where they connect to the sprue, get rid of any burrs on there, and I'm going to mount them on my popsicle sticks. Now, while I'm thinking about all this, I'm slowly starting to take stuff off the table, mainly because, like I said, I was going to clean the table, and I want to make sure it's clear before I clean. Okay, but we're also going to take my X-Acto, and we're going to remove any unwanted metal off of these Prussians. Maybe even file their bottoms. If I probably don't need to. Well, maybe that one does. Yeah, so I definitely do. Okay, because they normally have pretty good bases. These are Blue Moon, and they usually have really good bases. But in this case, there is always some little imperfection here and there. So I'll probably file their bases, and then I'm going to stick them on their popsicle sticks. Okay, Do I have another box? I do. Just for those of you that know or don't know, Austin crackers. Okay, this is peanut butter and jelly, but it doesn't matter. Whatever brand you get, whatever flavor you get, if you get Austin, they fit nicely inside of Ritz boxes. You can actually have 2 boxes in one. Austin will actually fit inside of Lance as well, I do believe. Lance and Ritz, I think, are pretty close to the same size. I love the Ritz boxes best. I love the crackers as well, so that's an added bonus. But I love the Ritz not the Ritz crackers boxes, and this one's full of flock. Not full of flock; it just has a little bit of flock, but enough for me to knock it into the trash can. I love Ritz boxes because they seem to be made from just a slightly thicker cardboard than the Lance and the Austin. The Lance and the Austin have a tendency to be a little flimsy and flexible. Nothing wrong with it. I love them. I've been using them for years. But the Ritz boxes seem to hold their shape a lot better. Okay. Little anecdote you probably didn't need to know or care about, but hey, you know, whatever. Okay, so we got those figures pushed off to the side. This is the type of tape that I use on my popsicle sticks to affix the miniatures onto the popsicle sticks. Okay, and then we're also going to work with some little big men decals. I made a comment in one of my previous videos that I wasn't sure if Victrix was going to sell the 15 millimeters, and I got a comment on one of my posts, on my video I should say, in informing me that Victrix has started selling 15 millimeter decals from Little Big Men, because they basically acquired Little Big Men. Okay, so this is going to be another full-size Legion or 2 half Legions in my game, right? 2 4-base Legions. That's so I've already got them sprayed brown, and you can tell it's like black brown. It's like super dark brown. And I've already painted their shields white, because Little Big Men shield decals go onto white only. Basically, the shield color, like this yellow. Let's just use this as an example. This yellow, if I was to stick this yellow decal onto a brown, black, gray, whatever primered shield, the yellow would be very dark and muted. It wouldn't be correct. So white it is. Okay, so those are all the things that I plan to do today. I don't know if I've got enough time to do all of this. I probably don't. But that's not going to stop me from trying. Okay, so the first thing I do before I start cleaning the table is, now I've got this spray bottle. It says Home Sense Multi-Service Antibacterial Cleaner. That's not actually what's in this. Actually, it might be. No, I don't think so. Because this I bought at Kroger. You can see Kroger logo. And then I bought like this big, huge 5-gallon drum of cleaner mix concentrate that you're supposed to put like 10% cleaner mix and 90% water. So that 5-gallon drum is going to last me my entire lifetime. Because I only do this. I only use this usually to clean this. There's very little other things that I use it to clean. Maybe my monitors every now and then. Or shelves or whatever. Okay, I'm using this this barber brush to get rid of any loose block or stones or toenail clippings or whatever I might have on here. Okay, we got rid of those. I got me a 3M pad here. Now, before we continue, I'm going to glove myself up, mainly to protect my Band-Aids. I've got a couple of Band-Aids, and I don't want them to get all wet or dirty or, you know, nasty or whatever. Plus, if I have any allergies or whatever, it'll help with the chemicals. Even though I don't have any problems at all with 99%, well, with the cleaning solutions. Okay, so now what you're noticing on this table is probably nothing. You know, you probably it's not focused, it's not zoomed in. You probably don't see anything. But what I'm doing is I'm kind of soaking it. Almost putting too much. Almost. And I'm going to let it sit in its juices for just a moment. Loosen up whatever might be underneath. And it's usually paint or texture paste or other cleaning solutions, or it's usually paint or cleaning solution or glue. Sometimes I'll glue a model. I'll put it like on a fender washer that has a hole in the middle, and sometimes when you set it down, because if it's done with super glue, there'll be like this dried out white area, and also sometimes it sticks to the cutting mat, and I want to clean all that out. Now, am I going to be able to remove or clean every little piece of every little thing off of here? No. Am I trying to do that? Yes, but I have low expectations. I don't think every little error is going to be clean. It's not going to be brought back to brand new. And this whole section right in here, you know, has a lot of, this is where I do all my cutting. So the cutting board, or the cutting mat, you can tell, I don't know if you can see this right along the edge, it's suffered, or has suffered, oh, look at all that brown, it came up, that's good. And I plan to do this twice. Once right now, and then, like, these are not gonna, they don't come off. I think they've been on there since the last time I did a cleaning. But mainly, what I'm trying to remove, and this is to be honest, I don't care if it's colored, I don't care if the paint is all over the place and has different textures or whatever. And that's not the word I'm looking for. Pigments. I don't care if it's blue in this one area and red in another area or whatever. I could care less about that. What I care about is the bumps, the burrs, when I've got a figure on a popsicle stick here, right? And I've got a row of them and I'm painting them all. And what I'm trying to do is I try to slide them across the board, because if you know anything about my painting, what I will do is I will set out a bunch of sticks and I will slide them all to the right. Then I'll take the one on the far left, I'll paint it, and I'll put it down way over on the left. So now I know that I've done that color on that stick. It's just a mental thing. It's just an organizational technique in my head. Let me know that I'm making progress on my figures. And then when I get to the last one, then I know that I've done black on all those figures or whatever, and they're sitting over here in this half of the table. What I'll do is I'll grab them and I'll slide them across and I'll put them back and I'll reload them basically into the new start location. Okay, that all came out pretty good. That's good. And I've been realizing over the last couple of days that when I slide the figures over, the popsicle stick would get caught on something like a piece of paint or something like that, and then it would they would bunch up or they would tip over or something, and there would be so there would be like a little piece of glue or something or piece of paint on there that's sticking up. And that's what I'm really removing. I'm removing all those. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a drying. Just a little bit of a drying. We're not going to... That's not the finished product. Okay, and we're going to let that dry. That's going to be all I'm going to squirt. So let me go ahead and put this back on my shelf. Out of the way, out of mind. Okay, I'm letting it soak a little bit. So, how's everybody doing this morning? It's a nice Saturday morning, the day after Independence Day. Everybody recovering from your hangovers from last night. I am. My family, we went to Cheddar's last night. I had a full rack of ribs, which I now realize that I should have just gotten a half a rack because I brought most of it home for leftovers. When I ordered it, I knew I wasn't going to be able to eat it all. I just knew that. But I ordered it because I'd be able to bring it home and have ribs here, you know, for lunch or dinner or whatever. Now, if you have some serious burrs, which none of these are serious, it doesn't seem like, they're just very subtle. And a subtle burr is still a burr. still a bump. So you got to get rid of it. Now I could take a spatula, like some of my putty spatulas or whatever. I could go through here and I could scrape it off. If you had some stubborn bumps, which I don't think I do. I think because I don't just leave it on there and let it dry like that. If I make a mess, or if I see that I dropped some glue or some paint where it shouldn't go, I'll clean it right there on the spot. But sometimes, you never know, some things get past me, and that's why I clean this. I probably clean this once a quarter. That's probably right. 3 or 4 times a year. And I could just flip it over, but I like it on this side because I found that the majority of the games and the miniatures that I use are all millimeter based, right? They're not imperial, so they're not inch based. This mat has inches on one side and millimeters on the other, right? And the inches side is green, which is another thing that I don't like on my miniature table. The black really allows me to see the figures better. The green just is very distracting. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, I think we are good. Now this is the final dry. And it's still a little bumpy in this area right here, but it's, yeah, I can feel it. That's okay though. Okay. We're going to start with these bad boys right here. These are a Prussian commission from Blue Moon. There should be 32 figures here. Get my trash can between my legs. That way, when I go to trim these, it'll fall into the trash can. Now I'm going to swap out my glasses for my magnifying glasses. So for those of you that are waiting for me to play some more Star Citizen, it just 4.2 just got released. I just finished downloading it last night. What is that on my glasses? Okay, it's gone. So I just downloaded it. So it should, it's ready to play again. I've noticed on miniatures in general, the most common place for any snakes or burrs is usually the hands, the ends of swords or sword sheaths, and believe it or not, cartridge boxes. Not sure why. Okay, so I'm going over getting rid of the snakes, the burrs. Oh, and the buttstock of muskets as well. Depending on the age of the mold, if there's two things on the mold that get really close together but don't touch, there is a chance, like on this one, the hand is resting by his side, but it's really close to the cartridge box. And so, not just on these models, but on all models in general, the metal will sometimes leak between the two, and then you'll have like this flash line that you have to, well, I cut into to get rid of. Now I have another ongoing commission. It's the one for the American Civil War. But the last I checked, it's not up to date. So I don't plan to put any paint on those models. Well, other than primer. I'll probably prime them. Which is probably as far as I was going to go with these models today anyway. But once that account is up to date, then I'll resume painting on them. The Prussian account is up to date. Well, it's actually, yeah, it's up to date. And my Romans that I'm doing, that's my personal collection. Yeah, you got to really focus in on all the different places that burrs or snakes can appear. To make sure you get them all resolved. Now, I have gone over figures like this for either my collection or other commissions, and I will miss something. Like there will be a snake by his, let's say, his pant leg or something. And I'll prime them and I'll get ready to go paint them. And then when I get ready to paint the pants, I say, hey, where'd this spider come from? It's like, and then I got to remove it and then hand prime it underneath. If it didn't already, like, prime underneath already. But yeah, sometimes I'll catch it on the paint and not on the prep. But yeah, I really go slow during prep. Trying to avoid any of that from happening. Now these are supposed to be the 4th Regiment, which have orange facings. His last regiment was the 1st, which also had orange facings. So I wonder if he just likes orange facings. Or is he going for a specific scenario where the 1st and the 4th participated? I don't know. His drummer seems to be in really good shape. I'm not seeing any burrs or flash or anything. Now this officer, on the other hand, that's a different story. Yeah, so that Star Citizen, I was thinking I would play a couple hours this afternoon. After lunch. I'm thinking. I haven't logged in since I updated it. So I wonder if I'm going to have to restart with 0 credits. Now, my plan is going forward from 4.2 is to get enough credits together so that I can comfortably travel to Pyro and whoa, I almost dropped that guy. Comfortably travel to Pyro and continue my whoa, I'm dropping all kinds of things. continue my galactic tour. If you don't know what my galactic tour is, my microphone is way over there. Wait, what's going on? I just thought about that. I got the gain turned way up. I turned the gain way up from when I was talking to Chat GPT. I decided I was going to do it verbally. So I turned my microphone on, and Windows wouldn't recognize it for Chat GPT, that is. So I had to make some changes to the settings, and then in doing so, I realized that my gain on my microphone was very low, like 30%. So my voice was very low. According to Windows. So there's a knob on the back of the microphone to adjust the gain. So I went from about 30% to 50%, which might mean it's too loud. It also might mean that it's picking up noise around me, even if there's, because I had it set up where the washing machine could be running, a fan could be running, things like that could have been running, and the filter in OBS would not pick it up, or it wouldn't engage the microphone until I got started talking or something like that. So I don't know if increasing the gain has messed with that. I suspect it has, because that's why I turned the gain down. I'll do some testing later and figure out where it is. Make sure everything's good. But the reason why now changing the subject a little bit, the reason why I needed the microphone, I didn't need it. I could have typed it in, but I was just tired of typing. I just wanted to sit back and have a conversation with ChatGPT. And I did. I had a conversation with ChatGPT. And the conversation went to Pendragon. I wanted ChatGPT to tell me where in the world is Boyton in Pendragon. In the Pendragon game, where is Boyton? Because Mason's character married a woman called Lady Gale of Boyton. And I looked around the map. I couldn't find her or find the place. So I figured it was in one of my obscure books or maps that I've got hundreds, and I haven't been able to look through every single one of them. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, hey, where's it at? And ChatGPT knew exactly what I was talking about. It told me where it was and what books I could find it in. Now, strangely enough, and I kind of dislike this about ChatGPT, it tried to sell me these books. It said, as an example, it said, Boynton is southwest. It's in the southwest section of Salisbury, um, located on the map of Salisbury, which can be found in the Great Pendragon Campaign, which you can go to Chaosium and purchase for this amount, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I was trying to say, stop, stop, be quiet, interruption, trying to stop you. And it just kept on going. It's like it's turned its, it didn't hear me say stop or any of that. It just started spewing this pre-scripted selling advertisement or whatever. And I was like, stop, 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 stop. I already have this book. You don't have to sell it to me because I already own it. So then I said to ChatGPT, I said, okay, you said it was in the Great Campaign on the map. What page is that map on? And it said page 100. It knew exactly what I was asking. It said, in the Great Campaign book, it's on page 100. And I was like, oh, thanks. Okay, good. So I went to page 100, and there's no map on that page. It doesn't even reference Boyington on that page. And I'm like, wait a second. Now, I do know that there's multiple books from multiple editions called the Great Pendragon Campaign. It's probably referencing one of the older books, because the one I have is the newest edition. Not the current edition. It's still the last edition. I think it's called 5th edition. I think we're in 6th edition right now. I should have asked which edition, because I went to page 100, there was no map. So I said, okay, well, there can't be much difference. Let me just look through this book and find the map that they're referencing, the Salisbury map, which I found. I found the Salisbury map. And I looked in the southwest section. Hell, I looked in the entire map. It's not on there. And I was thinking to myself, it's not on there. And then ChatGPT said, you can also find it in the Book of the Warlord. It's on the map of Salisbury. And I was like, oh, good, I've got the Book of the Warlord. Let me go find it. So I found the Book of the Warlord, and I looked through the maps. I found the one that said Salisbury on it. No Boynton. It's Boyton, not Boyington. I want to say Boyington, from Pappy Boyington. But, Baba Black Sheep and all that. But, okay, there we go. I was going to say there's a little bit of a something there I got to cut. But it was not on that map. So I went to ChatGPT. I said, can you just display the map you're talking about? And it said no. And I think that's because it's a map in a book that's for sale. Right? And I think it's a copyright kind of thing. And it said, no, I'm not allowed or whatever. And I was like, okay, no problem. if I looked on Google Earth, would I be able to find it? And it went through this long speech that I didn't ask it for this information. It just felt like it needed to give me this information. But it went on this long speech about how the Pendragon campaign takes place in ancient England, and the current Boynton is, or Boyton, is currently a modern village, and it wouldn't look exactly the same way as it did back in the Middle Ages. And I was like, I know this. I'm not an idiot. I didn't say that. I just said thank you and closed it. Because I understand that large language model search engines are not exactly sentient. You know, they're not AI. They're just VI. And I love how companies out there are now claiming, this is AI and this is AI, and you can use AI to create your website, and you can use AI to, look this up or whatever. It is none of this is AI. It's all VI. And for those of you that don't know the difference between virtual intelligence and artificial intelligence, I think he sent me one too many figures. Which, that's okay. I'll let him know. I'll just say, hey, dude, you sent me one extra figure. I'm going to hold on to it until your next commission. Because he said something about having many, many, many units that he needs painted. He's just going to send 2 a month. The difference between a virtual intelligence is a program that appears to be real, or appears, either verbally or physically or visibly, appears to be in control and knowing what it's doing and stuff like that, but doesn't. It's only doing what it was programmed to do. It's not thinking for itself. It has a complex program, like any program, but it's created to make it seem like you're talking to a real person, or, they have emotions or any of that. But they don't. They don't have any of that. They're actually quite stupid. And why are they? Well, because someone programmed them. And whoever programmed them, even if it was a brain trust of hundreds of programmers, they still couldn't think of every single response, or every single scenario that could possibly happen. Wow, this one had a buttstock that was bent 90 degrees. Okay, we got this guy fixed. That's no problem. But because it seems to be intelligent, that's virtual intelligence, not artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is when the program believes that it's alive. And we call it artificial because it was created by man, but the programming is not but it's not programming. It's like the programming got so good that it took a step towards self-consciousness. And there's disputes on whether or not computers can actually ever be self-conscious, or if they'll always be virtual. Like we'll do it like a really complicated program, and then the computer through that programming will make a huge leap into, training itself, and someone will say, oh, it's obtained artificial intelligence. When in reality, it's just following its programming, and it seems like it's artificial intelligence. And so people stop and they just start claiming that it's artificial intelligence. Okay, this glove, this finger right here the rubber is longer than my finger. And so there's like this extra rubber sticking out the top of it. And it's getting caught. So there's this argument on whether or not a computer can actually ever become an artificial intelligence, because it was originally designed by a man and built, and it's just following its programming. And there's going to be, whoa. Now I'm under damage control, so bear with me. Ooh, Afraid I damaged that guy permanently. Because his legs bent up underneath him. When I ran him across the file, for somehow that model didn't like it. It was soft metal. Okay, I don't know why we got into this conversation, but it all started with me looking for the map for Boyton using ChatGPT. And if it was text, like if I had typed it in, it displays the answer in text. And if I see an advertisement in there, I can just immediately ignore it and go on to my next question, or I can delete it, or click the X button, delete it, or I can just move on to whatever I want to do. But when I was listening to it talk to me, I didn't have that opportunity. I had to sit there and let it finish talking. Which I will admit was annoying. Now, it seems to know a lot about Pendragon. And it even offered to write adventures for me. It said, if you need adventure ideas, or if you need quests for your players, just let me know. And I found that to be very nice, very good. Because there are times when I'll write an adventure and I'll get to a part of my adventure and I'll say to myself, where do I want this adventure to go? How do I want this adventure to progress? What's a good plot hook? What's a good reward for completing the quest? Different quests have different problems. And I thought to myself, I said, self, if I had ChatGPT help me and I run into a problem like, okay, the reward is going to be this sword, it's going to be stuck in an anvil, it's going to be magical. What kind of powers? And then I sit there and I think for a minute. I'm like, well, it could be on fire, but that's boring. Everything's on fire, or it could be ice, or it could be like lightning. And I'm pulling these out of Skyrim, right? I'm like, it could be any of these, but what are some really, and then I'd be sitting there with my thumb up my butt saying, not making a commitment to any specific power or whatever. I could just go to ChatGPT and say, this is my scenario. What do you think would be pretty cool for them to find, and a power for them? It doesn't have to be a sword stuck in a stone. It could be anything. What do you think a cool reward would be? And it will tell me, because I've already tried it once. It'll give me some suggestions, and it'll say, If you don't like these suggestions, I can come up with some more. But usually the suggestions are like, oh, I didn't even think of that. That would be so cool. And then others are like, okay, that's pretty cool. What if it is a chair that grants them the ability to see 24 hours into the future? I'm just using that as an example. How could that really be a benefit for our players? What? And then I would say, go. And then it would come back saying, well, if he has this in his throne room and he has to make, I'm just pulling this out of my tushy. This is not something I ever asked. But this is the kind of answer it would give me. It would say, well, if you put it in his throne room and he sits on the throne and then makes a decision on a peasant, that might ask for a favor, like his crops are failing and needs help or something like that, this chair might give you insight on how to resolve that issue or something. I'm just saying. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then it would throw in, but on the other hand, your opponent would hear about how this chair gives you insight, and then he might declare war on you so that he can acquire this chair. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we could do that. That could be a whole start of a whole campaign. So, yeah, so ChatGPT is actually quite useful when it comes to ideas like that. Now, I was thinking about this the other night, and I'm going to test it. I'm probably going to, you know what? I could probably test it on stream with you guys today. But I was going to ask it if it could run me through an adventure in Pendragon. Can you please create a random adventure based in the Pendragon universe and run me through the adventure? I wonder if it could do that. Not that I want it to, but I'm just curious about its capabilities. And would it use different voices for different people I interact with? It'll also, and I've done this already, I put in some variables for pictures, and it will auto generate pictures that I can use in my game. Normally, they're like knights or whatever. I say, can you create a knight that looks like this and does this and has this? And then it takes a while for it to generate this image, or it has in the past, usually about 5 minutes. And then about 5 minutes later, this image pops up and says, this is what I found. And then sometimes I look at that image and I'm like, that's not what I asked. This, I asked for this and you provided this. And it's like, oh, okay, well, give me a second. Let me try another one. And after about 3 or 4 attempts, I'll get a picture that I'd like, and I'll just save it, and I'll import it into my game. And I'll say, hey, like Lady Gale of Boynton, right? I did that with her because the picture that's in the book looks like it was drawn by a 10-year-old. it's a horror, and it's looks like a coloring book image. You know what I mean? It's just white with black drawing, and there's no shadows, no shading, and it's just very basic. It's a very basic picture. And so I said, nope, that's not going to be Lady Boynton. I said, if I ask, can I get you to create a photorealistic picture of her, and this is what she's supposed to look like? And then it goes, give me a second, click, 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 and then about 5 minutes later, a picture pops up, and I go, oh, that looks pretty good, but that's not exactly what I want. But sometimes I'll save it anyway, because I could always use it for a character, a different character. I try not to let any of those pictures go to waste, is what I'm saying. We might even do that here in a minute. Just show you some of my Pendragon role playing. Okay. One thing happens is my hands sweat when they're inside those gloves. And then what happens is my hands get a little sticky. The glove itself gets a little sticky. So I take them off. But I needed my fingernails to get into the paper and start peeling. This is double-sided tape. It's foam tape. I'm running low on double-sided foam tape. I might have to put in an order for some more. Actually, wait, hold on. That's not true. I just got in an order of foam tape. That's right. That's right. Never mind. I was just being stupid. Okay. So. Grab this bad boy. And we stick them on there. Now, what I normally do, guys, is I stick them on these and I angle them about 45 degrees, maybe less, maybe 30 degrees, but I angle them instead of straight up and down or straight across. I kind of put them at an angle, and I think it makes for painting them a lot easier. That's my pro tip. But every single one of these guys is going to be pretty much the same. They're all Prussians, line infantry, gray pants, dark blue jackets, with the orange facings. Okay, now he looks like a sergeant because he's not sling arms, he's kind of cradling. Okay. I push them down a little bit into the foam so that you get a good stick. And then I can pick these up and I can paint them without fear of them falling off or anything like that. If that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to pull ChatGPT up while I'm doing this, and I'm going to talk to ChatGPT while I'm doing this. So I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Um, there are some pictures that I want to generate. One of them is of King Lot, and another one is Arthur. Um, at the time of this adventure, Arthur is a squire with his brother, Sir Kay. They're at the tournament, and basically, he's helping his brother, Sir Kay, during the grand tournament. And then during the grand tournament, he goes up to the. He forgets Sir Kay's sword and has to run and go get a sword, but his cabin is locked, and so they can't. The inn is locked, so he has no other option. But then he sees the sword in the stone. He runs over there thinking that he could pull this sword out and then give it to his brother to continue fighting in the tournament. And he does. He pulls it out. And everybody's like, "You can't do that. How did you do that? You can't do that." And he immediately puts it back in the stone and says, "I didn't mean to. I'm sorry." And then they said, "Try again." And so he pulls it out again and he succeeds. And so they declare him the king. Okay, so let me see if I can't get ChatGPT to talk to us. I'm going to have to put my headset on if I want to hear what she has to say. Where's my headset? Here it is. Not only that, I don't know if you guys are going to be able. Well, I guess you could if I turn on desktop audio. You should be able to hear me and her. Let me turn on desktop audio. Hey, ChatGPT, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How can I help you today?
I'm in the middle of working on some 15mm Prussian miniatures for my YouTube audience. Can you say hello to them?
Of course. Hello to all the awesome viewers out there. Hope you're enjoying working on those Prussian miniatures. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. I have some more Pendragon questions for you.
Absolutely. Feel free to ask your Pendragon questions. I'm here to help.
In Pendragon, King Arthur was, I guess, a squire before he became king. Can you generate a photorealistic photo of him before he becomes king?
I can't create or generate images, but I can help answer questions or provide information about King Arthur or the Pendragon RPG. If you have any specific questions or need information, feel free to ask.
Okay, now I know that's not true because I've had you create images for me in the past. So why can't you do it now? Is it because I'm using voice?
I can help with many things through text, including answering questions and providing information. However, I currently can't create or generate images, whether through voice or text. If there's anything else you need, feel free to let me know.
Has something changed that has stopped you from generating images?
No, nothing has changed. I'm here to provide information, answer questions, and help with various topics. If you have any more questions or need assistance, feel free to ask.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. How can I help you today?
Okay, that's it for today. I was going to ask you to generate an image for me like you did in the past, but now I'm not asking for any copyright images or anything like that. I just want it to be randomly generated.
I understand. If you have any other questions or need assistance with anything else, feel free to let me know.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a great day.
Okay, I think I turned off the mic. Um, that is 100% a lie. ChatGPT just lied to me. I've got multiple images on my computer that were generated by ChatGPT. Yeah, like I even have the searches still saved. Okay, hang on. I'm going to bring up the image so you can see what I'm talking about. Center display. There we go. These are some previous questions that I had asked ChatGPT, and look at that. It generated an image right there. It generated a heraldry for me. It generated a Saxon warrior, even though that's actually just a picture from Vikings. It generated all these images. Why can it not now? Yeah, and there's Lady Gale right there. Different versions of her. I guess that's a close up. This was, I asked for photorealistic, but it gave me these, which I guess that is photorealistic. That's not really, but that is more photorealistic. But it just wasn't enough for me, or whatever you want to call it. So I had to generate this, and then I just saved it, right? I downloaded it or something, copied it. I don't remember. But so yeah, ChatGPT just lied to me. That's some bullshit. But at least luckily it saves all that. I didn't realize that it saved all of our conversations. I think that might be Opera though. Opera might be the one saving it, because this Chat GPT is actually in Opera. If you use Opera as a web browser, Chat GPT actually has a button in Opera. That's that's when I saw it. I was like, you know what? I can just click this and start using ChatGPT instead of having to go to a website and, you know, going out of my way. This way, it's a lot easier. Just click it and ask or type. Um, I guess I'm gonna do it in text later and not in verbal. I'm gonna say generate a photorealistic Arthur before he's king. And then I'll do another one. He's actually, well, he's what the game's named after, right? The game is pretty much um, revolves around King Arthur, but that's not really true because the Arthurian legends, King Arthur, Arthurian legends, actually have a history, you know, hundreds of years before Arthur. So if you wanted in the game, if you were so inclined, you could run your campaign before Arthur was even born. You could run it before Uther was king. When he received the sword of power, Clarent. I think that's the sword's name. But I ran it. I'm running it because this is the first time I'm running it. Let me rephrase that. Because it's the first time I'm running it, I didn't want to take too many liberties. I wanted to kind of stick close to the material that's provided, and it starts in 508, and Arthur didn't pull the sword out until 510, and that's where we're at in the campaign is 510 at the tournament where this happens. So we'll see if it actually does happen or if something. I even told the players, I said, if something happens and Arthur gets killed, then he dies. You know, not part of the Arthurian legends at that point. But I'm not gonna fudge dice rolls or the story just to make everything fit into its cookie cutter specific spot. Um, but that's really not true. I will adjust stories sometimes. Um, I will adjust the story sometimes to make sure that certain things happen when they're supposed to happen. I will do that. I've been known to do that, but um, and killing Arthur before the adventure even gets going would be a major blow to my story. So I honestly probably won't allow that to happen. And there's something in Pendragon. There's a couple of things in Pendragon that are, for me, they're given, right? Because I've been playing role-playing games since the 70s. And over time, I've picked up these nuances of role-playing games where in Pendragon, it's actually written and it allows the game master, or it I don't know if allows the game master is the right word. It informs the game master that you don't have to do it exactly like we tell you to do it. There is a whole section in the rule book that talks about how every game master that runs this game is going to run it differently. So just run it the way you want to run it. And it won't be wrong. It'll be correct. They even have a little, I don't know, what do you call it when every letter of the sentence is abbreviated? Says something like, your Pendragon campaign is different from every other Pendragon campaign. But the way they initialize it is, your Pendragon campaign may vary. There it is. MV. Why PDC MV? And that basically gives every referee permission to change whatever they want to change. Which, as a game master since the 70s, I pretty much already knew this, right? It's common knowledge. It's like, you run this game the way you want to run it. Even D&D. You know, you run whatever role-playing game you're playing, you play it the way you want to play it. Don't let the rules hold you back. And then there's another thing in the game. Trying to remember. There's two major topics that they have verbalized in the game that, as a game master, I pretty much know this already. But they have it written out in the game. Now I can't remember what it is. But basically the overall gist is, the game is trying to give you permission to change the game however you want. Now, the way I want to run the game, but I'm trying to stick close to the source material as possible so I don't mess something up, right? I'm afraid I'm going to mess something up if I make too many changes. But I want my world to be a fantasy world. Pendragon already is a fantasy world, but it's kind of like, if you think about it, it's a very low fantasy. How often do you see a monster in Excalibur? Do you ever see a monster in Excalibur? You know, They talk about giants. They talk about dragons. But you never see any of that. They talk about elves and stuff like that. Now, I've watched a TV series, which actually I thought was really good. I think they canceled it. Where it focused on this one girl from this wild tribe, obviously pagan. And she meets Merlin and a bunch of these other characters, and they travel to fantasy areas, and apparently there's some kind of witch or evil hag or something that casting spells on people. I don't remember exactly the name of this series. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. I could probably ask ChatGPT, he'll probably tell me. But her village gets wiped out. She escapes. I think she finds a sword. It's not the sword of power. But she basically turns into Xena the Warrior Princess. And she has some kind of moonlight powers or something like that, I think. I don't remember. I don't remember the story. It was a while ago when I watched it. And then there was a TV series called Merlin. That one was written for teens. I liked it, but it was kind of like watching Saturday morning cartoons. All the characters were teenagers. Merlin was a teenager. Arthur was a teenager. It just had It was a good series, though. It was very serious. It took itself serious. It's just that all the actors were young. But it focused around Merlin. That's why it was called Merlin and not Arthur. Even though Arthur was a big portion of it, Uther was in it. If I remember right, this was while Uther was still alive. And I think he was played by Rutger Hauer. I think. And then here's another one, Lady Hawk. You guys remember Lady Hawk? Rutger Hauer. Even though there was this magical curse on the couple, one was a wolf and the other one was a bird, and it changed at dawn and dusk. Even though that was in the show, there was nothing else that was magical or spiritual or anything like that. It was just normal, average, everyday occurrences. And that's kind of the way I feel Pendragon is. It's a magical world, but there's no magic going on. And I want to change that. I want to make it a magical world with magic happening all over the place. Not specifically like a wizard in every town, but um, have like monsters, magic weapons, flaming swords, you know, that kind of stuff. Stuff to spice it up a little bit. They're on patrol and there's a farmer's daughter getting attacked by an orc. They don't know what it is because they've never seen one. They're starting to move south from the north, from above where Hadrian's Wall is or whatever. They're moving south because they're not migrating. They're just looking for fertile land or something. I'm going to have necromancers summoning undead creatures. I'm going to have them confront a dragon. Maybe put other monsters in there like griffins or, you know, stuff that you find in heraldry. Like griffins and Pegasus and I don't know what else. Griffins come to mind. So that's my plan for Pendragon. I'm easing them into it. I'm not I'm not jumping straight into the supernatural. They have already met something that is supernatural, but she didn't say she was supernatural. She didn't show that she was supernatural. But she kind of did. Because she healed them in a short amount of time, which could only have been done with magic. And she said that when I call on you, I'm going to ask for a favor. And so that's a tie-in to maybe a future adventure. Well, it will be. It is a tie-in. I don't want to ruin it, but I have a long epic campaign already in my mind. Every single story is not written yet, but I know where the start is, and I know where the journey is. I just don't know the details, and I don't know the destination. If that makes sense. I can't wait till we actually play this next game. I have another nugget of supernatural origin that I'm going to introduce to the players as a mystery. Now, because these strips are so thin, I took my 3M tape and I cut it in half lengthwise. So this is only half as wide as the tape is. And I cut it into a 30mm strip long because that fits in between their characters. I'm sorry, in between their pegs pretty nicely. 40 probably would have been okay, but I went with 30. Oh. Now this is the first time that I'm painting two Civil War units, one being Union and one being Confederate. So it's like I'm painting two different units instead of one super large unit. So I'll be jumping around the colors. But I think I can prime all of these gray. Even the Prussians. Definitely the Confederates. And I think the Union can be primed gray as well. Okay, so we got okay, so these are all the figures that I'll be working with for the next week or so until I get all of them done painted. And as I mentioned, I'm not painting any of the American Civil War guys until that account gets caught up. Perfectly fine. It's gonna happen. I just, I trust him. Everything's cool. But before I do any painting, I'm gonna prime these guys and I'm going to put shield decals on these guys. Now, the question is, this is going to be two different legions, right? So this legion is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 figures. So is this one. But if I'm looking at shields, I'm looking at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's only 12 shields. And then on this one, there's only 11 shields. Not counting this little round one. So 12 and 11 shields. I have other shield transfers in there. Because I'd like these all to be the same. And then, because if I ever need to combine them into one legion, I could. But actually, there's 12. I could just do 12. That'll leave 4 of those. And then I could do 11. That's going to leave 5 of these. Both of these, one's yellow, one's white, but the symbol they have on them is the boar. There's a boar on this one, and there's a boar on this one. So this could be the boar legions, one yellow, one white. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do half yellow, half white. I've got other shield decal. Oh yeah, what about this guy? I got this guy. Hold on, what else? Because if I could do them all the same, I might do that instead. Oh yeah. There's one that's cut off. Red with a green. And these are red with yellow symbols. There's blue and white. Some of these I think I have other shield design transfers in there. See, this one says Republican Roman shield transfers. And then this one says Marian Roman. And these guys are supposed to be Marian. That's Marian. And the other two are Republican. All the other ones are Republican. Right? Yep, those are all Republican. Which, I think I'm going to go with this white one. With the gold feathers in the corners. There's enough to do everything here. Save that. Okay, so those are the transfers I'm going to be using. What is this? Someone's home. Okay, that's forged in battle. The door must have been locked. I didn't know I had all these. Okay, I did order this. There's a couple of them. Okay, what's beneath this? Republican Old Glory. Okay. But this top one was made for the Forged in Battle Romans, which I think I've got a couple of Forged in Battle. I think that's a Forged in Battle shield right there. I think. But I think, and I know these are all Old Glory Marians. I got Shield aplenty. Yeah, Marians. And then Republicans. Yeah. I think I got way more than I need. That's the same as that. And I don't think I need that many. And there's all the boars. I could probably sell some of these. But we're going to go with the Marion white gold flange. Yeah, and putting them on these miniatures, it's definitely time consuming. That's like a whole day project. Cutting these out, sticking them on, wetting them down, peeling the back off, using my decal set. Yeah, that's a whole day project. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to prime these guys outside, and then I'll either get to working on these today or later today because I do want to jump on the computer and play some computer games. So, yeah, thanks for coming out and hanging out with me during this Saturday morning, day after 4th of July. And I will catch you in the next one. Might be tomorrow, might be Monday. I don't know.